Okay. Thank you guys for joining. The point, just so you guys know, of this meeting is to, um, for some of you guys who might be a little bit more familiar with Huddle, maybe alert you to a few features that you might not be taking advantage of. And then for some of you guys who are new to Huddle, we're going to be talking about kind of how to get the most out of it, both in terms of as a training tool, because watching video of yourself is one of the best things you can do to get better in addition to what you do in practice. And that's a question I get a lot, like, what can I do outside of practice to get better? Like, in addition to working out, this would probably be the top thing that you can do is just watch and analyze objectively, and not being too harsh on yourself, but watch and analyze what you're doing and learn from that, because it's one thing for your coach to say, hey, we want to see that shoulder dipping faster when you're passing, and sometimes it's hard to visualize that, and then when you see it, you're like, oh yeah, my shoulders are flat when I'm passing, right? And it's going to make a huge difference. So we're also going to talk about it a little bit for some of you guys that are maybe in the college recruiting process or starting that, how to use Huddle to make highlights and things like that. So there's kind of the training and development side of it, and then also the highlight side of it. So I'm going to present my screen and we'll walk through it. All right. Can you guys see? Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so first thing I just wanted to show you guys, and this should all be familiar to you, is your video library. So when you log in, you're going to see a different team name here, depending on what team you're on. And this library is going to have all of the videos that your coach has uploaded. And then it'll also have any playlists that you've made. As you can see here, I just used my 14, so you've got for our 5 matches from Baltimore, and then some of the playlists that some of the athletes made from Atlanta with various, attacks or kills or digs, or maybe all of their plays, depending on what they wanted to look at. Okay, so that should be familiar to you guys. You can also filter over here on the left if you want to see playlists or games, because as the season goes on, this library is going to get pretty full. So if you were looking for a certain game, or you just want to see the playlist, you can filter here. I also highly recommend you name your playlist, like with the tournament, your name. If you're looking at something specific like attacks or digs, put that in there, just so that it's easy to identify and find the playlist that you made, because the Huddle just names it, 10 clips from, Storm, and we don't know, which tournament that was, or who the clips are made for. Okay, this is kind of the most where everything starts in Huddle for you guys, is making and editing clips. So we'll talk about clips, playlists, and highlights. They're all kind of 3 different aspects of Huddle. So there's 2 different ways that you can make clips. I think what a lot of athletes do is go into your game film. So here, this is a game from this past weekend. You can see that it's tagged. Your coaches will do this. We'll send these games to Huddle Assist to make sure that they get stats and it's easy to filter. So you can use this to watch the games. They have some like forward and back and skip buttons, so you can skip through the games pretty quickly, and you would hit create clip when you see a play that you like, or maybe something you want to work on, depending on whether you're looking at a playlist for highlights versus a playlist for that you want your coach to look at. And you'd hit this create clip button. Your clip will then show up here in this your clips. You can also use the tags thing over here to filter maybe all serve receive attempts or all assist attempts, and if you want to click through it a little bit faster. But I know a lot of athletes who are making highlights are just going through their whole like the whole game film, just kind of sped up, skipping through timeouts and the 20 seconds between points, and then trying to find anything they like that way. One thing that's really, really important that I don't think enough athletes do, over here on the right, you'll see when you create the clip, it's going to pull up this little editing screen, and you'll see this blue slider. This is what allows you to change your clip length. So the default time is 8 seconds, but it doesn't always clip it exactly where you want. So for example, if you're a setter, you might want to see the pass, so you can see your footwork to the pass, like to the ball. You want to see the set, obviously, and then you want to see the attack, and maybe the results of the attack, but you don't need necessarily a lot of footage after the ball's hit if you're looking to make highlights. So you'd want to adjust your timing of your clips here. A lot of athletes will make clips either way too short, like we can't see your transition footwork, we only see your approach, or we can't see how you got to the ball, we only see a set, or they make them way too long, where we're seeing 30 seconds of a clip for one set. So the tempo, as you watch, we have some example highlight videos that we've shared on Instagram and up on our website, so that you can see the tempo that keeps people's interest without being too quick. And then make sure that once you're done with that, you hit save clip. You make sure you want to edit your clip and your clip length before you hit save. It's much, much harder to edit it afterwards. And I don't even think, if you wanted to add time, I don't even think you can. So make sure that the clip looks the way that you want it to before you do that. Do you guys have any questions so far on that? No? Okay. We'll jump to the next section. So I just kind of zoomed in that previous playlist or list of clips here on the left, and you'll see you have two options. You can share a playlist or send to highlights. So here, looking at playlists, if you're talking about, hey, I want my coach to look at it, or maybe you want to send it out to even the directors. Like people who aren't on my team send me playlists pretty frequently, and I'll always try to go in and make some comments and watch. It's a nice way for us to see someone that we might not get to see in every single practice. So if you are looking for, to make comments and, look at it from more of a training standpoint, you're going to want to use this share and playlist. If you're just looking to make a highlight video as efficiently as possible, that's where this send to highlights button is going to be coming in handy. And we'll talk about that a little bit at the end. But again, making sure that these clips are the correct length and they're the ones that you want to, in the playlist or in the highlights before you click either of these buttons is really important, because it gets a little bit harder to edit it later. Once you hit shared playlist, then you're going to get this menu here where it's going to say, hey, you want to either add these clips to an existing playlist or you want to make a new one. And that's where you would name it, Devin Little Big South blocks, or maybe I want to add it to Devin Little Big South highlights because I want to make a highlight video that has, attacking, blocking, and passing, something like that. So it gives you both of those options. And this is a nice way, if you have like clips that you're pulling from multiple games, you can like combine them into one playlist. It's maybe, hey, your top kills of the season or something like that, or your best plays of the tournament, or something like that you can then use to create highlights. So I like this feature a lot. Once you do that, it'll give you your sharing permissions. You can either share it with your whole team, you can share it with just yourself, or you can share it with yourself and your coaches. I definitely recommend that you select coaches. Whether you want to share with your team is up to you. A lot of people do just share it with the whole team because everyone has access to see it, but definitely having your coaches be able to edit this is really important, because then they'll get an email or prompt from Hudl, and we'll be able to go in and watch and potentially make some comments or get some ideas for some things you need to work on in practice. You'll then save your shared playlist and then or restricted playlist, depending on the permissions you've allowed, and then you'll see it in your video library and potentially the rest of the team as well, depending on what you've said. if you guys have any questions on that, you can jump in or type them in the chat as well. Okay, once you get your playlists into your library, if you were to click on them, you would come up with this screen where you'll have your playlist on one side that'll autoplay, and then also your clips on the side. So this is from an athlete on my team who put some clips together from Atlanta. You know, she was looking at a pass here. She had a comment on, you know, what she wanted to do in terms of her posture, and then that was helpful. I was able to go in and talk about something we had worked on in practice here as well. So you can also then make drawings. This is another example. So if I'm talking about Haley's blocking footwork here, I wanted to show her that I want her to rotate a little bit more and press her hands back towards area 6 on this block to make sure she doesn't get tooled. So you can show that here, and the athletes can use it as well. It's also, I find these tools really helpful if you're looking at things like posture, because you can use the slow-mo features and the pause features in Huddle to like maybe pause it right at the point of attack or right at the point of contact for a setter or passer, and then draw the lines to see, hey, am I fully extending when I attack, or does it look like my shape's like a zigzag? Or our setters, you know, are we in a nice long line with the ball a little bit out in front of our forehead, or is the ball dropping onto the back of our head and our hips, you know, flying back? And you can see how it's a nice way to see whether you're using your body efficiently, because again, these videos don't lie. And slow-mo is super helpful too. You could see like footwork if you're looking to say, hey, do I have any negative steps when I pass, or what does my split step look like on defense? You know, am I low enough? Things like that. You can use those pause and slow-mo buttons to really see what you're doing on the court. If you want to, like I said before, if you guys share a playlist with me, I'll always take time to look at them as soon as I can. And just when you're sharing stuff with your coaches or with the directors, just know that you'll get better feedback if your playlist is a little bit more curated, as in, you know, maybe not 170 clips of every time you touch the ball, but maybe you filter through it to find your 20, 30, 40 max kind of plays that you want them to look at. And also, if you've gone in ahead of time and made some comments, it doesn't necessarily need to be on every single play, but maybe you see some things that you want to work on in practice, or that you've been working on that you did really well, then your coach can kind of go in and respond to that. And I think it's helpful just for you guys. It really helps like cement the feedback, and for you guys to be able to see it and remember it if you make your own comments as well. Okay, any questions on that so far? Kind of everything on playlists. Going to get into the report section. Can you guys just type into the chat, those of you guys are on, whether you've seen this screen before or not? As if this stats report looks familiar to you. You can just say yes or no. I'm just curious to see if this is something you guys are using. Yes, Caroline and Lily, I know you guys you've seen this before. Yes. Yes, Corey. Okay, cool. So we got cool. So we were a little bit familiar with this. That's great. So this was a revelation for some people when I talked to them about it. And this is something the coaches in particular will be looking at, especially when we see what we want to work on in practice. So if for example, you want to pull clips from a certain game or tournament, you could use this reports tab. So it's right below your main menu in Huddle. You can select, hey, I want to look at my whole season. I want to look at my last 5 matches, and it'll give you, and you can sort it by athlete. Coaches will look at it by rotation or overall, and then totals to see where you're at in terms of, you know, this is for this example, this is my team from the last tournament, and everything that's hyperlinked in blue is clickable. So I can click on, I was looking at Devin here as my example. I can click on her 19 aces, good serving tournament there, or you know, maybe a couple times she got ace. I can click and I can see a playlist with that, or the 22 kills, and that will pull those things right into a list of clips, which you could then share to playlist or send some of the individual ones to highlight. So just keep in mind that these clips that you pull are going to be those standard 8-second lengths. So they won't necessarily be, they're not always perfectly timed for what you guys might need for your, for your highlights. So I think that sometimes this might be more useful to use if you just want to check on, hey, how's my passing over the weekend? Where are my attack percentages at? Cuddle's not always 100% accurate, but they're pretty close. They do a pretty good job over the course of matches in getting the stats. So, but you can also use it if you want to just quickly see, like, hey, what did those 20 kills look like, or what type of plays am I making errors on? And you can watch those two errors and kind of see if you can pick up on some patterns. So this is definitely helpful. Just if you want to be able to see tendencies. I do know that a lot of athletes that are making their own highlight videos often are going through individual games and pulling clips that way versus going through the reports, but some people use these as well. All right. And then what about this? Have you guys seen this page before? Is this familiar to you? The attack tendencies. Just type in the chat, yes or no. Cool. All right, some of you guys have been diving in. Okay, we got a few people. This is a cool thing. So this is gonna look a little bit more like, starting to look like a scouting report. So we have, we can look at like a box score for a game. We can look at goals, which is more of a team thing as well, but I believe you can set individual goals on that too. And then we can look at attack tendencies. So this will allow us to, I can filter by athlete. So here I picked an athlete on my team. Kate is a middle. I wanted to see all of her swings from the tournament. And so I used the filter tool on the left. I just didn't show it here because we didn't have enough room, but I could filter by game, by athlete. I could look at it as a team. So coaches will be looking at this to see, hey, how are we doing in transition versus on first ball? But this is all of Kate's attacks. So we can see, kills, errors, hitting percentage. Again, these links are all clickable. I can click on any of these and pull up a list of clips as well. This on the left shows you the results of each play and where the ball landed. So you'll see some of these, everything in blue is a kill. Some of these things are, shorter tips that are falling. And you can also see where she's attacking it from. She's mostly attacking from the middle. And then, some deeper tips, some deflection. So balls that were tooled off the block. As everything that was dug is in white, that'd be a zero attack is what they call it. And everything in red is an error. Error in the net being something that stands here, maybe it got blocked, so they don't necessarily differentiate between that. So you guys looking at this can see what zone. I'm gonna just type in the chat, where does Kate like to hit the ball? What are her tendencies? Yep, a little bit of 5-6 seam, 5 and 6. What about the tips? Where do those tend to go? Yep, some to zone 4, also some over in zone 2, right? So you can see more off speed over here, more hard driven stuff over here. So I think a cool thing that you can do with this, in addition to just seeing your tendencies, are kind of like make your own scouting report. So if I were playing defense against Kate, I would say, hey, let's block this 5-6 zone and put it and make sure we shift our middle back over here, and let's make sure our right front and right back are coming up for tips, and we're going to kind of give up this zone. And then if I'm Kate, I'm going to spend the next week or two in practice working on maybe tipping to 4 and attacking to 1, so that once that scouting report is made on me, I know how to defend against it and change up my game. So as you guys get higher and higher level, this is something that's going to be really important, because teams will start to make adjustments, and you want to be able to have the range to to make changes and still be able to score. This is another breakdown of this. This is really cool. You can see over here on the left is where you have your filters. You can look by rotation. It's interesting to see some people attack better at certain rotations, maybe when they either do, especially for outsides, if you do or don't have to pass, or a middle when you're coming from zone 2 or zone 4, you might see differences. But one of the biggest things that you can look at is first ball versus transition. So first ball being like your serve receive and free ball situations, and transition being off of an attack. So Kate's in the middle and she's hitting 409 in transition, which is awesome. So something we really like to see in the middle, and why we try to set our middles in transition a lot. And 231 and on first ball, which is good. But it's something maybe she wants to continue, to work on to get that closer to her transition hitting percentage. And this is actually, especially for your setters, this is going to be useful to see which hitters do I want to maybe go to more in those first ball situations, and which hitters do I want to go to more in transition, if our setters want to dive into that a little bit more. All right. Okay, we're going to move on to highlights. Any questions on playlists or anything else that we've talked about so far before we go on to highlights? Do you guys have any, if you have any specific questions or like troubles that you're having with Hudl or with your highlight videos, you want to type them in the chat now, or anything you were kind of hoping to learn, and then we can maybe address those as we go on. But I'm going to give just kind of an overview with Pierce. How do we get our game tagged? So Sandy, that is something we can work on. We just need to send your games into Hudl Assist. So we'll help with that. Oh, Kate just joined. Kate, we were just talking about you. You're up on your attack tendencies chart is up on the screen. You can see that. Any other questions that we have besides Pierce? Pierce, we'll help you with that one. We'll make sure those games get tagged as soon as we can. Okay, so we're talking about highlights. So this could be something that maybe you want to make a highlight video just for fun. Maybe you're making it for college recruiting if you're in high school on the older side. And there's a couple different ways that I see athletes do this, actually a lot of different ways. So some people make their highlights completely outside of Hudl. They will either screen record their playlists or the clips that they've made on their phone, on their computer. Just make sure if you do that, that they are coming out high quality and they're not fuzzy. I think people have had most luck on their phones with that. You can also, once you've made a playlist, so we were just talking about Kate, she has 15 clips from this match. Maybe she wants to make a highlight video including these clips. I, as an admin, have this menu. When I click on a playlist, I can email a video download link either to myself or to anyone. So if you make a playlist that you want to just pull out of Hudl and maybe use iMovie or something else, and you want to edit it that way, you can email me and say, hey, send me a screenshot or the title of the playlist. Hey, can you email this playlist to me as a link? And I will you'll get a link generated from Hudl to your email that will allow you to download the video file, and then you can make it in whatever video editor you use on your phone or on your computer. Or you can also make your highlights within Hudl. So some people use the Hudl highlight reel generator the entire way. They will send all of their clips to highlights, and then use the highlight reel feature to make and edit, add titles, their photos, things like that, and publish them in Hudl. And then maybe download them and put them on YouTube as well, which I think is a nice thing to do for recruiting process. Just a little, you can have your own like YouTube channel or something like that. And then some people make their highlights in the Hudl video player, and then they screen record them, edit them, adding maybe the the first screen with the picture, adding some stats, adding in transitions, your title screens of attacking, defense, things like that in iMovie or on your phone. So it depends on. I always tell people to do what you're most comfortable with, and just play around with it, because it's as you can see, there's a lot of different ways you can do this. And we've got some people on here who are pretty good at it, who will also let them share maybe some of their tips. But first, I'm just going to show you guys a quick video from Huddle that shows how to use their highlight reel feature. All right. You guys see this tab? Okay, cool. I'm gonna play this video. Hopefully the audio will work. If not, I will just send everyone.
Celebrate your team's best moments with highlights on Huddle. Once you have your highlights tagged, click the Highlights tab. Then, click Create Highlight. Click the pencil icon and enter a title for the highlight. To add video, click the plus icon and click Videos. Use the team and season drop-downs to browse your team's highlights. Select the game with the highlights you'd like to include. Check the box next to a specific highlight or select all. Click the play icon to see a preview of the highlight clip. When you're done, click Add Clips to your reel. Click and drag clips to reorder them on the timeline. If you need to delete a clip from your highlight reel, hover over the thumbnail and click the trash icon. To edit a clip, hover over the thumbnail and click the pencil icon. To trim a clip, select the scissor icon. Drag the ends of the box to adjust the clip's length. Add a spot shadow by clicking the circle icon. Drag and drop the shadow where you want it to appear on the video. To add text, click the A icon. To add music to your reel, click the plus icon and click Music. Use the drop-down to select a genre and check the box next to the song you'd like to add. Click Add this song to your reel. To add slides to your reel, click the plus icon and click Slides. Choose a slide type and enter the text you'd like on the slide. This is a great place to enter athletic or academic achievements for your team or athletes. Click Add this slide to your reel when you're done. You can also add photos to your reel. Click the plus icon and click Photos. Click Choose a photo and browse for the photo on your computer. Click Add this photo to your reel or choose a new photo if you want a different one. When you're done editing your reel, click Publish. You'll then have the option to share the reel on Facebook, on Twitter, or you can copy a link to the video to put into an email or text message.
All right. Are you guys able to hear the audio for that? It's coming through well for me, but I just want to make sure. Okay, great. All right. Lily, so I know you're on and I know you've made a lot of highlights in Huddle. Do you want to talk about a couple tips that you had? Because I know I have it more from the coach's view and you've done it more from the athlete side of things and had Lily had some really good tips that she probably wished she had known 2 years ago to make her life a lot easier. So if you want to share some of those, go ahead.
Definitely. Okay, so I have some stuff written down. I feel like you covered most of it, and most of it was covered in the video, but so I like to watch the full games and then make clips because like cutting them down, you want to like cut them down how you have it in the highlight video because going through after adding them to your highlights is sometimes like tedious, like cutting them each one down again. So that's just something to keep in mind while you're watching. And then while sending your highlights to the highlight maker, only sending the like specific ones you want in the video so you don't have to go through again and like cut them out. I also like to send all my highlights so they make specific highlights for each game because sometimes that's helpful if you don't want to make like a full big highlight for a tournament, like you don't have enough time to like make one or upload one to YouTube, so you can just send out like highlights for one specific game and like order of how the game goes, which is like sometimes interesting for coaches to see. Let's see.
I know coaches like that too. as
Yeah.
well, especially when you get later in the recruiting process, because they want to see that you can be consistent over the course of a match, not just maybe your 20 best kills from the whole season. So that's something that maybe is not your first video that you send out, but maybe in the future, like, hey, I had a really great match. Here's all my highlights from this one match, and it might be a minute long. Doesn't need to be long.
Yeah, like also some stuff that I wouldn't put in like my big highlight videos, like out of system setting, or like just some like fun plays that are like long rallies like with your team, just like fun stuff like that that you kind of don't really have like a place for in like longer highlight videos. That's like something more interesting. You can also, this was helpful to me because I would like spend a long time making long highlight videos when you can also just publish them and then re-edit them later. So after you publish them, there will be a button that says that you can edit them. So you can continue editing them after you publish them. Also, so what I usually do is I screen record my highlights after I post them and then upload them to YouTube or Instagram. I screen record them on my phone, so through like the Huddle app, which I found is like the clearest. Sometimes when you screen record on your computer, it comes out like blurry. So that was helpful for me. What else? I think that's it.
That's great. That's a lot. That's a lot of good
Yeah.
tips, because you've used it more from the athlete side of things, and I see it more from the coach's side. So, if you guys have any other specific questions that you want to ask in the chat, or do you want to message us on Instagram or an email or something, feel free. I think we also have another Huddle super user on the call, Miss Caroline. I don't know if you want to share any more tips. I know you haven't done as much on the highlight side of things, but in terms of playlists and any of the other things, because I know you helped a lot of your teammates with some of the struggles that they were having with Huddle. So any of the tips that you want to share for some people who might be newer to it?
Uh, Not really. Like you covered a lot of it, but if you like filter, like if you don't have enough time to watch like the full game, if you just like filter it down, also like I like watching like everything from like my side and not just like filtering down to like passes or something like that. I like watching like the entire point of like what I played in to see like how I moved and like mistakes and also highlights.
Yeah, that's great. I think especially as a libero, like showing your movement, your coverage, not all that stuff is going to be tagged in a stat necessarily, but it's really important for you to see your position. So I don't know if there's anyone else on who's used Huddle quite a bit. I know, Corey, you've done quite a few highlights. If you have anything else to share or any other questions, if not, I think we could probably wrap this up. And I know we're going to try to do another version of this that's much shorter. It's going to be like a video about how to make highlights, little screen recording, so you guys can see it more visually. But hopefully this was helpful for you guys to get the most out of Huddle, and both for your highlights and, you know, for learning more and growing off the court. If you guys are not currently watching, like at least a half an hour of Huddle a week, like definitely make that something that you do after a tournament. Just to, you know, make sure that you're getting the most out of it. You're really going to see huge improvements. I think the athletes that are using Huddle a lot are just going to develop faster, because they're going to be able to see the things that their coaches are talking about, maybe see some other things as well, good or bad, that they, you know, want to continue doing or want to work on. Anything else? I think we're good. All right. Good stuff. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll send out the recording to your team. So if people missed anything, tell them not to worry. Bye, guys. Have a good night.
now. All right, I think Nathan's still in. Okay, so if I hang up my phone, I should hear you on the.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Recording.